Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education, and I'm your host, Tim Bogans. On the Art of Ed website, we had an entire week of ceramics articles, just a huge variety of ideas for you, from getting students throwing on the wheel, to taking your pinch pots to the next level, to some awesome ideas for using molds and working with glazes at the elementary level. Andrew and I decided that we wanted to join in on that fun, so we're going to be talking today about all ceramics in this episode. We want to cover some of our favorite ideas here, both with things we've taught in our room and things that we've seen other people teach as well. And here's our thinking. We titled this episode Learning to Love Ceramics because for a lot of people, it's difficult to enjoy teaching ceramics. There is so much stress with logistics, organization, supplies, cleanup, glazing, firing, and on and on and on. And it really is a lot, but you can get there. Trust me, you can. And now, I guess that leads me to a little bit of a confession. When I first started teaching, I not only had never taught a ceramics class, but I had never even taken a ceramics class. And people worry about teaching ceramics all the time because they don't have the right experience or they haven't done it before. But take it from me, you just need to dive in. I really hate to admit this, but I went all through high school and then through all of my undergrad without taking a ceramics course. I just loved drawing and painting so much in high school that I avoided all of the 3D classes that were offered. Then when I got to college, I took a sculpture class, a performance art class, all kinds of different things, but somehow stayed away from ceramics. Then when I'm running a high school program all by myself, I'm just kind of thrown into the fire and forced to learn what I'm doing. And it probably wasn't the prettiest that first year or the first couple of years, but over time, you just kind of pick up all of these tips and tricks from reading, from experimenting, from just talking to people who have done it before you and people who have more and better experience. What was once really terrifying can slowly become something that you love. I'm hoping that this episode can be that for you. Kind of a conversation that shares with you some ideas that can make teaching ceramics a little easier for you, maybe a little less scary. And hopefully you'll be able to learn to love ceramics as well. So I'm going to bring Andrew on and we're going to talk about all of our favorite tips, all of our favorite tricks, all of our favorite ideas that can make teaching ceramics a little more enjoyable, a little more worthwhile, and hopefully something that's not quite as scary for you. And joining me now is my favorite co-host, Mr. Andrew McCormick. Are you excited to talk clay tonight?
Man, I am super excited. I've been that person who used to dread it, and I've kind of over the years kind of gotten better and better at it. So I'm happy to share what knowledge I do have.
I like that. And hopefully, we can have a little bit of a conversation here to kind of get people into your mindset where even if they are a little bit scared, and we can shift that thinking and get them a little bit excited about ceramics. So I think the biggest thing for a lot of people that they're scared of is just kind of dealing with organization, right? You have a couple hundred kids that you need to teach clay to. So let's chat organization. I think the biggest thing for me is making sure that you have the right tools. And I know you like to make a lot of your tools, right?
Well, I've had to kind of do it out of necessity. I don't know if I like
if you like it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I like it, but I've kind of had to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we dive into that though, I want to just chat about some of my favorite things. If you do have a little bit better budget, some of the things that you can buy to make your life a lot easier. For me, I love the clay extruder. You can usually get those for a couple $100. And there's some that are tabletop, some that attach to your wall, but you just put dies in there and force the clay through, and you can make coils, you can make all these hollow forms, you can make really cool slabs, and you do a lot of really, really cool stuff for that. The other thing that I really like, I don't know if you've ever used one of these, but a slab cutter. Are you familiar with those?
I know what they are. I've never had the luxury of using one, Mr. Fancy Pants, so no, I can't say I've ever had one.
It works really well, and I think a lot of elementary teachers like them because you just get that huge box of clay, you open up the bag, and rather than, trying to cut all these pieces individually, you can get a slab cutter, which cuts them very consistently, a really nice thickness, and you can pre-cut all of your slabs before kids come in, and just saves you a ton of time, ton of headaches. So I really like that. So those are my two big ones that are semi-affordable and really save you quite a bit of time. But let's talk, though, all those people who don't have a budget, or all those people that have like 43 cents per kid for the entire year. Like, how do you get into clay tools? What are some of the things that you like, or that you need with your homemade tools?
I first got to give a big shout out to John Post, because a lot of my ideas for kind of homemade tools and tips and tricks around ceramics kind of come from some of his videos and articles and presentations at the AOE conference. But I got to joke a little bit, because I made one that was homemade needle tools. Like if you don't have needle tools but you want to make some, and he does this really nice presentation where he recommends popsicle sticks, paper clip, and some tape and some epoxy. And I made those, but man, John, I gotta be honest with you, buddy, I felt like I had my students making like prison shanks. Like it just looked like we were making homemade weapons. And then I think I kind of discovered that bamboo skewers, like, you just go to like the Dollar General store, Dollar Tree, or Walmart or something. You can buy like bamboo skewers for, shish kebabs. They don't rot. They don't like swell or anything. So as students use them and they get wet and dry out, and they're about as sharp and as pointy and gives you that ability to create detail work as a needle tool. And they cost like almost next to nothing. So like I buy a couple big bags of bamboo skewers, and it's just like so much cheaper if you don't have needle tools. The other one I really like, again, I'm a big fan of like going to your Dollar Tree, your Dollar General stores. You can buy those like cutting mats, like for chopping up vegetables and stuff. And you can make your own homemade ribs. You can make like just a smooth rib, or you can take like the kind of crafty scissors and kind of cut like a serration around the top and make some really cheap serrated ribs. And I love serrated ribs for scoring, for like quickly smoothing out like high spots and stuff. And man, those are pretty expensive. And to be able to make your own, like you can buy like a pack of 3 of those cutting boards for $1, and each one of them makes like 15. I mean, you're getting like 45 ribs for $1, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. I used to make them out of like old milk jugs, like your gallon milk jugs. You can make ribs out of that as well. So, and just another option that's out there for you. But let's talk organization a little bit too. Like I know you coming into a new job, you've told me this story before. You're being gifted with like 2,000 pounds of dry clay. So like, how did you deal with that?
There was a lot of cursing. There was a lot of shaking my fist at the heavens. I got a hammer. I got a hammer and I started busting it up, because it was like, it had been kind of thrown in there and it had been all like kind of congealed together. And there was one like tote, like, a big old honking tote that most people would like store like Christmas ornaments and junk in, just filled. And I mean, easily this one tote alone was like 500 pounds of dry clay, rock hard. And there were multiple totes like that.
Yeah.
So what I discovered, and I kind of did this at my old job too, was, if you can just kind of bust that up a little bit, so there's smaller pieces, of course, and you put that in like a big old 55-gallon trash can, a big old sturdy one that has wheels, like a base that has wheels on it. And then you can just let that stuff soak, like kind of all semester long. You can kind of keep checking on it. The nice thing is, as it's soaking, the top layer is like slip that you can grab when you're in a hurry.
Yes.
When you kind of run out of like current clay, you can again take some of that stuff off the top. You're going to have to wedge it all up or maybe blend it up, but you can start reconstituting that stuff, because it's like, you just can't afford to let dry clay go to waste. And like that should never happen. So those trash cans on wheels, I mean, they let you be mobile and move around your kind of clay that you're letting reconstitute wherever you need to, if you're limited with space, but yet they're also durable. And, the thing with like putting it in a big old tote, I mean, even a small tote, if you filled that thing with clay, you're talking at least, what, 200 pounds of clay? Like, that's not going to be easy to pick up. So having it on wheels is super important.
Yeah, and I don't know, I love having the huge trash can to recycle things because, again, just everything can go in there. By the way, kids love like getting in there. Not every kid, but they love to just roll up their sleeves and just put their entire arm into there to help like reconstitute stuff. But yeah, I just put down like a sheet of canvas and just grab like a ball of clay out of there. They just kind of turn them so they dry out evenly, and then once they're at the right consistency, you can wedge that and it's usable again. So I really like that too. And then just two other things real quick. If you don't have room for a 55-gallon trash can, like get like a 5-gallon bucket, and even just recycling a little bit of clay at a time will work really well. It takes a little bit of patience, but you can have your kids help. And, a 5-gallon bucket is not going to take up that much space. So you can definitely do it on a smaller scale. And then the other thing, as far as organization that I really like, is just having a couple big buckets in the sink. Almost works as a trap. So like having kids wash their hands or wash their tools over a bucket before that water gets into the drain of your sink. It works really well to just have kids wipe off all the clay. It sinks to the bottom of that bucket. The water overflows out of the top and goes down into the drain, but all of your extra clay stays in the bottom of the bucket so it doesn't get clogged in your sink. And you can also just dump that right into your huge trash can wherever you're reconstituting.
I got to ask you a question about that, because I feel like I've been doing that for a few years, and I feel like I must be doing something wrong. Because like I definitely notice I wash a lot less stuff down the drain. I'm not having the clogged drains. I always feel like that bucket just smells disgusting. And I don't know if I need to be dumping it more regularly. I mean, after a couple days of that water kind of sitting there and the kids haven't been agitating it enough, it just smells like sewage water. Am I doing something wrong?
No, the smell actually comes from like any kind of organic material that gets in there, anything that can be broken down by the clay. So like if you have like a needle tool in there that's all made out of metal, then, you're probably going to be okay. It's not going to smell bad. But if you get like parts of a sponge or something, then the clay is going to start to break that down. It's going to grow mold and it's going to get really nasty in there. So just making sure they don't have any weird junk in there is one way to keep it from smelling bad. And then like you said, if you can just mix it up a little bit more, then, that's always helpful.
So if you have nothing but clay and water and it doesn't like move, that won't get too stagnant?
I haven't had it happen. I mean, you may have weird stuff in the clay itself. I don't know. But we haven't had too many problems with that before.
Well, I must be doing something wrong. My hands must just be like filthy dirty with like disease and regret or something. I don't know.
That's probably it. Okay, so we've talked about organization for a long time, but if we can move on just a little bit, the other thing that I see a lot of people have trouble with is firing and things exploding in the kiln. And I just need to tell everybody, do not fire your clay until it is completely dry. And I don't know why people need to rush it. They insist on rushing it, and then all of a sudden everything blows up in the kiln. Like, I have no idea what happened. Okay, it was still wet. That's what happened. So a good rule of thumb is to, just press the piece that you're about to fire, like against your cheek or against the back of your hand. If it still feels cold, there's still moisture in there. Okay, if it's room temperature, it's dried out, it's ready to fire. So that's a really good rule of thumb. But I know you, Andrew, want to emphasize the whole idea of being really patient. So can you talk about, how you're patient with ceramics drying out and with your firing?
I had an epiphany a while ago, and maybe this will cause a big to-do in the art ed community, some controversy, but someone once told me that air pockets are not actually the enemy that we think they are. That, I always tell kids, if there's an air pocket or an air bubble in there, where is the air going to go? It's going to expand. It's going to pop. I actually think it's less that than just the moisture that then will kind of get trapped in those. So I don't know if that's still like an open debatable thing, but
that's what I've always learned, where air can be a problem, but 99% of the time it is moisture.
Yeah. So, I mean, because of that, because of it being moisture related, you just have to be really patient. And, I mean, clay shrinks when it dries. So I've really stressed to my students, you do not want things to dry quickly. you don't want things to dry at all while you're working on them. So one of the things I stress is what I call the 2-bag technique. And I always kind of like to joke because 2 bags sounds like 2 Chainz the rapper. So I make my students call me 2 bags McCormick. I don't know why, but it kind of sinks in when we poke fun of me and call me 2 bags. But I like to wrap 1 bag really tight, around the clay. It's not even around the board, but you spritz down your clay. You maybe add a wet paper towel to it. You take 1 bag really tight around the form and then 1 more bag around everything just for good measure. And I feel like with that 2-bag technique, rarely, if ever, are you going to have air getting in there to dry it out when you don't want it to dry out. Yeah. Okay. So then conversely, when you're ready to do a bisque fire, I used to not do this, and it was a big mistake I would make, was I would just take the kids' artwork and put on the shelf. Hey, we're drying out. We're ready to go. Well, think about any sort of appendage, a horn, a nose, anything that sticks out. Because air can circulate around that much faster, all the way around it, it's going to shrink faster. It's going to crack. It's going to pop. It's going to want to fall off. So what I do is I tell my students we got to dry those really slowly, and we take 1 bag and we just loosely drape it over the form, but very loosely, so air can kind of filter up through the bottom. Yeah. Get in there nice and slow and gentle because you don't want them to dry out too fast. Mm-hmm. And then if you do happen to be in kind of a rush and it's oh my gosh, we've got 1 kiln left to go and it's all these, I got just 1 load left to go and there's a couple that I'm a little questionable about. I'm not embarrassed to say I've done all day candles where I just crank open the lid of the kiln, set that baby to 200 for 24 hours, and I start putting all the pieces in, and I don't actually let it run for 24 hours, but I'll start it at 7, and I'll turn it off at 5, or maybe start to fire it at 5. That sucker candled for 10, 12 hours, and I just think that that's really helped out a lot. Once I started realizing that you can candle stuff for a long time to just really take any guesswork out of if it was wet or dry, it's really helped me not blow anything up. So
yeah, I think that's a good tip. And I love candling also, and I think if you have an electronic kiln where you can make the settings, create whatever firing process you want, you need to do a 6, 8, 10, even 12-hour preheat, where it is just candling. It's at, 180 degrees. Just keep it below 212. So, the water's not boiling, but anywhere around 180, 190, is good to go, but just candle it for quite a while. If you don't have an electronic kiln, what I always used to do is I would just prop the lid open just a little bit and, I would just fire it on low all night. So before I left for the night, I would just turn it on at super low, let it candle all night. And then when I came in the morning, we'd ramp up to medium, then ramp up to high. And so you're there when it's firing at its hottest temperature, you're there when it shuts off. And so that always worked out really well for me. And I think it's a good tip. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing when you're firing to keep things from exploding, to keep them from blowing up. You really do need to candle. You need to be patient. You need to take it slowly. So cool. Now we're running out of time here. So what I'm thinking is we want to just throw a couple more good ideas at people before we leave. And then next week we can come back and talk a little bit more about our favorite projects we like to teach, some glazing ideas, all that kind of stuff. But I know you have one last really good hack that you want to share about using the blender. So you want to go with that one?
Yeah, you want me to talk about this one because I got this idea from you. You want me to stroke your ego a little bit here.
No. I didn't know you had stolen it from me. I thought you.
No, yeah.
It was something that you had
learned
done.
It from watching you, Tim. I learned it from watching you. Yeah, you had posted a video on AOE a while ago about making that good slip, and that right consistency that kids really like, and it kind of starts with that 55-gallon bucket. It's been soaking, but it's still not 100% even. Maybe you had some bigger chunks that aren't as kind of broken down. But you can just take that stuff, put it in a blender, add a little bit of water, and it's kind of trial and error. And you just blend that sucker up, and it makes super smooth, super even slip that, you know, my rule is like, if I can pour it into the little dish that's at every table, like I've got something good.
Yeah.
Kids don't need to get like a special tool. They just kind of dip their finger in. It's nice and even, and they can blend it. And it's really been a lifesaver. But wait, I want to piggyback onto that. I know we're kind of running long on time, but I've also started experimenting with the apple cider vinegar as a slip.
Yes.
I know I sound crazy, but
I've heard about that, but I've never tried it.
It works. Like, I honestly didn't think it was going to work.
Yeah.
I thought this was like some hocus pocus, but especially I've had students that have had a piece that was like bone dry and, oh my God, Miss McCormick, my ear broke off or my whatever broke off. Man, you just dip a little brush into some apple cider vinegar on both sides and then hold it, and doggone it, like the acid content of the vinegar, like literally like kind of melts and fuses the clay back together.
That's crazy.
I had a girl just recently who she broke an ear off of this really nice like mask that she had made.
Yeah.
I did that, and that sucker survived the firing, which like I was like, okay, I'll try this out. I don't know. We fired it a couple days later, but now here's the funny thing. Me being an idiot, I picked that mask up kind of by the ear, and then it snapped off after it had been glazed. Like she had then glazed it. It survived the glaze firing, and I'm holding it by the ear.
The teacher break it.
Oh my God. It's the worst feeling in the world, but all the kids are looking. I'm like, look at this beautiful mask that she made. Poink. And it like just snapped. And I thought because it had survived, you know, the bisque fire and the glaze fire, we were in the clear, but I shouldn't have been holding it by the ear, I guess. But I'm here to tell you, man, the apple cider vinegar trick totally works. It's really awesome.
I like it. That's a good one to go out on. That's something that I'm going to need to try too. So cool. All right. Well, yeah, we definitely need to continue this discussion because I know we have a lot more to talk about. So we'll run this into next week too, and it'll be awesome. So thanks for joining me. All right. Well, apparently Andrew and I have a lot more to share than I thought. So we're going to continue this conversation in another episode. So make sure you check back next week and we'll talk about everything that we couldn't quite get to here. We'll chat about our favorite ceramics lessons, some of our best glazing techniques and ideas. And if this conversation was any indication, we'll talk about a whole lot more as well. Now, before I let you go, I need to tell you about the ultimate shortcut for learning how to teach ceramics, AOE's Studio Ceramics course. Now, if you take this course, you will learn it all in about 8 weeks. Okay, because through the Studio Ceramics course, you experiment with all sorts of hands-on, advanced techniques like using slips, using underglazes, really unique texture treatments, and hand-building techniques. And you also learn where you can make those historical and interdisciplinary connections with your kids. And in this course, you're going to create really useful tools. You'll create finished pieces for your classroom. And most importantly, you learn how to break a lot of these ceramic skills down for your students at a level that's developmentally appropriate for them. So no matter what age you teach, no matter what level you teach or what level you are yourself, hey, you're going to find a lot of information to help you out when it comes to teaching ceramics. So visit theartofed.com/courses to check it out. There's a new section of the course beginning every single month. That is going to wrap it up for us. Like I said, make sure you come back next week as we dive even deeper into the world of teaching ceramics. And somewhere over the course of all of this conversation, hopefully you can find some ideas that will help you learn to love ceramics as well. We will see you next week. Art Ed Radio is produced by The Art of Education with audio engineering from Michael Crocker. New episodes are released every Tuesday, and you can find all of our archives at artedradio.com. Then, once you binge listen to all of those, sign up for our email list or feel free to shoot us a message at radioguys@theartofed.com. We always love hearing from you, good, bad, and otherwise, and we are always happy to start a discussion. Thanks for listening.